There's a moment that almost every Libra knows. It's not a noisy moment. It doesn't come with tears, with a confrontation you could mark on the calendar. It's quiet, internal. It happens right after something that everyone around calls a surprise, but which for you was no surprise at all. You already knew, not consciously all the time. Not in a way that you could prove or articulate without sounding exaggerated, but you knew. Deep down, in a layer you learned early on not to give much credit to, the information was there, organized, silent, waiting, with a patience that, if you think about it now, is almost disturbing. And when the inevitable arrived, when the relationship ended, when the atmosphere changed, when that situation resolved itself exactly as it had already shown signs of, that phrase came. Sometimes spoken aloud, sometimes only thought for a second before you pushed it back into some inner corner. I knew this was going to happen, like a burden, because along with this knowledge comes a question that no one asks Libra aloud, but that Libra asks herself silently in many early mornings. If I knew, why didn't I do anything sooner? The world has a ready answer for this. It calls it indecision. It calls it insecurity. It says Libra weighs both sides so heavily that it ends up stuck in the middle. And perhaps you accepted this explanation at some point because it seems to fit, because it's palatable, because it says, I was in doubt, instead of saying what it really is, I knew. And yet I stayed. But the real truth is something else. Libra's slowness doesn't stem from a lack of clarity. It stems from an excess of it. It's a form of clarity so advanced, so anticipatory, that it arrives before the rest of the world is ready to hear it, before the facts are visible, before the evidence accumulates. Libra reads the end of the story while others are still on the first page, and then closes the book, puts it on the shelf, and pretends to be at the same point as everyone else. It's not weakness. It's an emotional survival strategy that Libra has been building up over a long time without realizing they were building it. Within Libra, there exists something that functions like a precision instrument, an ability to grasp emotional patterns before they become visible, to perceive in the first conversation what will only be revealed months later, to sense before any concrete evidence where a situation is heading, not as a vague guess, as fine reading. This isn't imagination. It's not anxiety disguised as intuition. It's real intelligence, built over years of careful observation, subtle reading of people and environments, silent processing of information that others simply don't stop to collect. And it's precisely this intelligence that Libra has learned over time to disbelieve in itself, to call it exaggeration, paranoia, oversensitivity, because believing in this perception required action, and action required breaking free. And breaking free anything, a relationship, a dynamic, a comfortable expectation, is what Libra has resisted most throughout its life. Not out of cowardice, for something much older than that. There's a thought that Libra never fully verbalized, but which operated silently for a long time. If I act on what I know, something will break. So it's better to wait, just a little longer. And without realizing it, that just a little longer turned into months, turned into years, turned into entire cycles built on top of situations that Libra already knew right from the beginning. This idea that remained incomplete, these entire cycles that Libra built upon something it already knew way back at the beginning, is no accident. It's the most central pattern of its nature, and understanding where this pattern came from completely changes what you're going to do from now on. It was while searching for answers to this that I found this digital book, The Divine Path That Guides Your Zodiac Sign to a Life of Purpose. What surprised me most about it wasn't what it revealed about Libra. It was the way it positions this Libra knowledge not as a burden, but as a compass, not as proof that you should have acted sooner, but as evidence that you are ready to act now. It doesn't try to predict your future. It helps you understand the mechanism that operates within you, this anticipatory clarity, this intelligence that you've learned to ignore, and shows you how to transform it into posture, into direction, into a life with real purpose. You are here now with this active recognition, this feeling of I've always been like this, and for the first time, it doesn't feel like criticism, it feels like a key. And the difference between those who use this key now and those who wait for the perfect moment is precisely the difference that separates those who continue to carry the weight from those who finally stop carrying it. The present is the only point at which any real change begins. The link is in the first pinned comment. But be aware, this content may be taken down. Click now and download your copy. And while you're thinking about that, tell me in the comments, when was the last time you said, I knew this was going to happen? And what did you do with that knowledge? There's an image that lingers in the minds of those who understand how Libra truly works. A precision scale, the kind used in laboratories, the kind that doesn't lie. When you place something on it, it doesn't register immediately. It vibrates first. It oscillates. It moves to one side, then to the other, adjusting, processing, finding its center. And then, when everything is calibrated, it stops. And it shows the exact weight of what was placed there. Libra is that balance. The fluctuation isn't confusion, it's processing. It's the time the scale needs to find the truth of what it's carrying. And those who look from the outside and say how indecisive can't stop don't understand that the scale already knows the weight. It always has. It's just going through the necessary process before showing it. This explains something that many Libras report when they stop to think honestly. The decision usually doesn't come after a big revelation. It was already there. What comes after all the wavering is the courage to show what has already been calculated. These are completely different things. Think about the last major turning points in your life, the breakups, the changes of direction, the conversations you finally had after putting them off for months. In retrospect, how many of those can you honestly say, I already knew I was going to get here, that this day was inevitable, that this outcome was written before anyone saw it? If you stop and think about it, the answer will be a little startling, because it's probably almost all of them. What Libra carries is not the inability to decide, it's the responsibility of knowing too early, of bearing the weight of a conclusion that the rest of the world will take a long time to understand. And this responsibility has a cost that no one talks about, because it forces Libra to live for a while in two places at the same time, the place where it is now and the place where the scale has already pointed. And living in two different timelines like this is exhausting. Exhausting in a way that's hard to describe. It's not stress, it's not anxiety in the conventional sense. It's the specific burden of knowing what's coming and yet needing to continue living through what's happening. Unable to speed up the clock, unable to make others reach the point where the Libra scale has already arrived long ago. The question isn't whether Libra knew. It's what happens after she stops pretending she didn't know. There's a pattern that Libra repeats, and that she rarely names while she's in it. She only names it afterward, when the cycle has already closed, when the inevitable has already happened, when the phrase, "I knew it," has returned once more. Then she looks back and sees the same dynamic, the same beginning, the same arc, the same end. Not exactly the same. People change, scenarios change, the details are different enough for Libra to convince itself that this time it's something else. But the emotional pattern, the rhythm, the curve, the feeling of when that specific thing begins to take shape is the same. Always the same. Think of a song you know very well, one you've heard so many times that you recognize it from the second note. You know what comes after the intro, You know where the chorus will come in. You know how it ends. But when it starts playing, you don't skip ahead. You keep listening, every part, as if it were a surprise, as if you didn't know what was coming next. That's exactly how Libra enters some cycles. It recognizes the beginning. It knows the tune, but it lets it play until the end, pretending to itself that maybe this time the chorus will be different, that maybe the lyrics will change, that maybe the ending will be different. Why? Because stopping the music before it's over requires making a decision the moment it starts, when it's still possible to leave without great cost. And making that decision means admitting that you knew from the beginning. And admitting that means taking responsibility for acting on what you knew. And Libra has learned, in a way that goes very deep, that acting on what you know before others see what you see can seem cold, it can seem presumptuous, it can seem cruel. So she waits. She lets the music play. And when it ends, she carries that familiar weight of "I already knew that." As if knowing the song by heart were a flaw, not an act of intelligence. But knowing the song by heart isn't a flaw at all. It's what happens to those who paid enough attention to learn it. The question isn't why you know the pattern. The question is what you're going to do the next time the intro starts playing. This cycle of recognizing and yet waiting, of knowing and yet remaining, is not a weakness. It's a deeply rooted pattern. And the divine path that guides your zodiac sign towards a life of purpose maps exactly this mechanism in Libra. How to transform the anticipatory clarity you have from a source of guilt into a source of real direction. There is no predicting the future. Conscious action in the present. If you're listening to this song for the last time and you're going to pretend not to know the lyrics, this is the material that helps you break free from the cycle without having to wait for the end to arrive once again. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey toward the clarity and genius you deserve. There's one thing nobody likes to say to Libra, not because it's cruel, but because it seems too contradictory to everything admired about them. And that is this. The beauty with which Libra maintains harmony around them can sometimes be the most sophisticated trap they've built for themselves. It's not that the pursuit of harmony is wrong. It's genuine. It's part of what makes Libra capable of creating environments where people feel safe, where conflicts find a way out, where beauty survives even in difficult situations. That's real, and it's valuable. But there is a point, and Libra knows exactly what point it is, where harmony ceases to be the result and becomes the excuse. Where "I don't want to disrupt the balance" silently transforms into "I know what's happening here, but if I name it, everything will change, and I can't guarantee that what comes next will be better than what I have now." It's a silent gamble, almost invisible. Libra chooses what it knows, even when what it knows no longer serves its purpose, because the unknown on the other side seems riskier than the weight it's currently bearing. Imagine a house, from the outside impeccable, well-kept garden, clean windows, everything in its place. Inside, in some corner you don't visit often, there's a crack in the wall. Small. It doesn't compromise anything immediately. But you know it's there. You've seen it before. You've thought about calling someone to take a look. But every time the thought comes, another one follows. What if it's more serious than it seems? What if the repair is more expensive, messier and longer than I can bear right now? So you don't call. You keep the house nice on the outside, and the crack stays and grows, slowly, silently. Libra does this with internal situations, with relationships, with environments that no longer nourish each other, but maintain an appearance of balance sufficient for the work of confronting to seem greater than the work of continuing. The problem is that the crack doesn't wait. What isn't named doesn't disappear. It silently occupies space and exacts its price in ways that Libra will feel long before it can identify the source. That nameless weariness, That lightness that vanished from a place it once was. That feeling that something is wrong, but you can't pinpoint what. The harmony that Libra protects is sometimes no longer harmony. It's organized silence, and the difference between the two, deep down, Libra always knew what it was. There's a scene that almost no one sees when it happens in Libra. It's not dramatic. There are no tears, no shouts, no confrontation that you can mark on the calendar as the day things changed. It happens in a quiet moment, internal. Sometimes in the middle of a casual conversation, sometimes alone, in a silence that suddenly thinks differently. This is the moment when Libra stops pretending not to know. It's not about stopping pretending in the sense of making a declaration to the world. There's no speech, there's no announcement. It's a decision that happens internally at a very deep level that no one outside notices, but that Libra feels in a way that's difficult to describe and impossible to reverse. Imagine a window that's been closed for a long time. You've grown accustomed to the still air. You've learned to breathe within that environment. It wasn't suffocating enough to bother you all the time. It was just smaller than it could be, less than you needed, but enough to keep going. And one day, without much ceremony, you open the window, or the entrance. And only at that moment, when the outside air arrives, do you realize how stagnant the inside air was. You didn't notice because you were used to it, but your body knew. And when the fresh air arrives, there's that second of recognition. Ah, that's it. That's what was missing all along. Libra, when they stop pretending not to know, doesn't make an immediate fuss. They simply begin to act based on what they've always known, no longer waiting for the world to be ready, no longer calibrating their truth based on the comfort of those around them, not out of selfishness, out of integrity. Because there comes a point when honoring what you know ceases to be an option and becomes a necessity. And Libra, when it reaches that point, no longer backs down. This quiet decision has real consequences. Some things change. Some relationships reveal what they're made of when Libra stops being the sole provider. Some situations that seemed stable show that the stability was fragile and depended on Libra's silence to hold on. And all of this can be difficult, but there's a lightness on the other side that no cost can erase. The lightness of someone who finally breathes with both lungs. The lightness of someone who acts based on what they know, and not despite it. The lightness of someone who has discovered that honoring their own perception doesn't destroy the world. It only reveals which part of it was real all along. This moment, this quiet decision to honor what you've always known, has a real before and after. The divine path that guides your zodiac, signed to a life of purpose, was created for this exact space. For when Libra has already recognized the pattern, already feels that it can no longer pretend not to see, but still doesn't quite know what to do with all this clarity that has been repressed for so long. The book doesn't tell you what to choose. It shows you how to use what you've always known as a foundation, as the most honest material that exists to build a life with true purpose. This is the moment, not later, now. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. There's something curious about rivers. They never seem to know where they're going if you look at a single point long enough. Here, they veer around a rock. There, they retreat before a larger obstacle. In another stretch, they seem almost to stop, too calm to appear to be moving. But if you climb high enough and look at the entire course, you see that the river always knew. Every detour was calculated, every retreat was strategic. The sea was there from the beginning, and the river never stopped moving toward it, even when it seemed to be standing still. That's how Libra is. Every moment you waited, every cycle you stayed longer than you knew you should, every situation where the balance fluctuated longer before stabilizing, all of that was part of the journey. It wasn't wasted. It wasn't weakness disguised as wisdom. It was the specific way you found to get to where you are now. Carrying what you needed to carry, learning what you can only learn by living each stage to the end. Sooner or later, and this sooner or later isn't resignation, it's physics, Libra arrives, clarity arrives. The moment arrives when knowing you've always been there finally finds the courage to move, and when you arrive, there's no going back. Libra, having honored what it has always known, doesn't return to the silence that existed before. It continues, lighter, more real, more whole than at any other point. You who are here now have come this far, with everything you've carried, with all the times you said, "I already knew," and still stayed, with all the songs you let play until the end, with all the windows you took so long to open, with all the letters that remained closed on the table for days, weeks, months, until you finally opened them. All of this is part of who you are. And who you are, that fine intelligence, that deep reading of people and situations, that ability to bring clarity before the world is ready for it, is not a burden. It's what makes Libra uncommon, what makes Libra irreplaceable, what makes the people around you realize sooner or later that you saw it first, that you felt it first, that you knew it first, and yet it remained until the right moment to act. Not the perfect moment, the true moment, your moment. It was never indecisive. It was always you.